Hey everybody, it's Scott Hollingsworth with Viral Marketing, and I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Generosity Generation Hangout. As always, I've got my co-host Michael Mayer here joining us. And Michael, why don't you explain to the audience what we're going to be talking about today and introduce them to the guests that we have on?
Well, first of all, thank you, Scott, and Viral Marketing for hosting and moderating these every single month. And it's First Friday. It's also, as everybody knows, it is Fist Bump Friday. So the first thing that we need to do, Scott, is a big virtual fist bump, right? Fist Bump Friday. And Christina is already involved. She wants a fist bump. Bang, right? Fist bump, explode, flutter, and sparkle. I am very excited about today, not just because that we have such a valuable guest, but because of the content of what she brings to the table and how we are absolutely going to blow some self-limiting beliefs right out of the water. And we're also going to talk about the 50X principle and that there's people in our lives that are truly those type of people who can 50X our lives, who can not just send us one deal, but can actually send us 50 deals. Developer, and we're going to talk with Christine about some of these relocation partners that she has in her business, and truly the 50X principle. But the first thing that I want to start with is I want to start with this whole thought of, I'm just going to start with a story because I just don't know how else to start. And people know that a lot of my stories have frogs involved. How that happened, I don't know. There's something about frogs that are just very unique. And so there's a story about the frog and the scorpion, right? And the frog and the scorpion are on one side of the river, and the scorpion approaches the frog, and the frog is very scared and terrified, and the scorpion says, "Hey frog, why don't you let me jump on your back, and you swim me across to the other side of the river, because really that's the only way I have to get across the river." And the scorpion and the frog says, No, scorpions sting frogs, and if you did that when we were swimming, I would die, and interesting enough, you would too, right? And that's where the scorpion goes, yeah, that's what's so interesting about that is why would I do that? Because if I stung you, then we would both die, and what good would that do? And so the frog is like a little confused by that, but then says, okay, I'll do it. So they're swimming across, and everything's going hunky-dory. They get halfway across. They get about 2/3 of the way across, and before they get 3/4 of the way across, the frog feels a sting in its spine. And the scorpion had stung it in the back, and the frog, after a couple of times trying to get up to the water, finally asked the scorpion. Scorpion's like, why would you do this? Why would you do this? It's one of those where, not only am I going under, but you're going under too, and you're going to die here with me. Why would you do that? And the scorpion said, well, you see, I'm a scorpion, and that's what I do. Scorpions sting frogs. And they go to their demise. And, what's the point of that story, right? Besides it has a frog in it, and Mayor always used frog, for things like family, recreation, occupation, and goals, and other things. Here's the thing. It's the power of identity. It's the power of identity and the power of how our identity is what we think of ourselves, and also what others think of us. So the identity that leads to a behavior. And our identity, we want our behavior to be consistent with our identity. So if our identity is I'm a scorpion and I sting frogs, then our behavior is going to be consistent with that. I'm on top of a frog. What is my identity? My identity is I am going to sting this frog. Whether it means good or bad, it's going to happen. And it's the same thing that I've seen with these identities we wrap ourselves around. And one of those identities that I see that I literally cringe about, and I see it as such a self-limiting identity, is single mom. Or it's one of those, it's just, I'm female. I mean, if you go straight, I'm female, I can't be at the top of this business. Or I'm a single mom. and it's this identity that people associate themselves with, that sometimes they line up their behavior, and that behavior is limiting their abilities, and that's what I'm hoping Christine does for a lot of people in general, but also single moms and also females, as they listen to her story, is that, you know what, you can be female and powerful and highly successful in real estate. There's so many examples to this now that shouldn't even be your belief. You can be a mom and be powerful and be very successful in real estate. And ladies and gentlemen, you can be a phenomenal single mom and be successful in real estate. And today's guest, I'm so honored, thank you, so appreciative for bringing on Christine Ricci of the Christine Ricci Group and the Ricci Group out of White Plains, New York. Christine Ricci, welcome to the Gen Hangout. Welcome to the Generosity Generation.
Well, that's a great story, Michael, because I'm a Scorpio, by the way. That's my
Whoa!
So now you got a Scorpio and a single mom. So you hit all of them without even knowing. So thank you for the opportunity. You know, I love generosity comes out very naturally for me. So I'm honored to be your guest. So thank you. So I'll just start with a little bit about who I am. Where I came from and my family makeup, and we'll start rolling. So
Perfect.
My parents came here as immigrants in the 1970s.
Wow.
I was born here. My two sisters were born in Portugal. So they came here with a vision to give us a better life. And that, in fact, they did. So I'm a single mom. I have 3 children,
Wow.
22, 20, and 16. And they're all on a wonderful journey themselves, and I'm happy I could provide them the opportunities they have today because of whom I've surrounded myself by, and you are one of those people, Michael, by the way. So thank you.
Thank you.
So I, 27 years old, got into real estate from a good friend of mine. She was in the business prior, and she knew who I was and invited me to be on her mini team that she was starting. I knew nothing about sales. I had went to college to be a nurse, always in the giving back. That's how I knew at 10 years old I wanted to do something that gave back. So 27, got into real estate. 18 years later, very successful in the real estate business, raising my children in the industry. And I have to say, I almost feel like I'm success by accident because I really didn't have a plan. This wasn't my career I had focused in on, but I do compare it. I'm helping people find their dream homes and their lifestyle and to raise their families. And although I wanted to be a nurse, also helping people, I'm still doing it. I still feel very fulfilled.
Awesome. And I'll tell you, it's amazing. I mean, Scott, do you want to fill in everybody? I mean, she's already conjured up like 5 questions in my heart and in my mind. You know, do you want to let people know how they can ask questions as they come on?
Yeah. Before we get into it too much, I just want to tell everybody that's viewing that we do have a Q&A app available. If you have any questions throughout the Hangout for any of us, go ahead and post them there, and we will make sure they get answered live on air.
Perfect. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. And Christine, right back to it. I mean, not only are you a single mom, but you grew up in a family of immigrants, right? Your parents came over as immigrants, and it's one of those where, I mean, a lot of people don't know. I mean, imagine this, right? It's just one of those where it's like, gosh dang, you know, imagine a 13-year-old black female. I'm not talking about you at this point, right? So 13-year-old black female growing up, and she's the kid. She was actually born to a 13-year-old mother without a father. When she turned 13, she had a child, got pregnant, had a stillborn. And also what's interesting is that had been emotionally abused and actually sexually abused, and was so frustrated inside, had so much turmoil inside, that she literally got sent to juvie hall in school with no chance. This was already a rough school. She was sent to juvie hall. She basically, I mean, what would you bet on that person to be a success, right? You would bet nothing. You would bet nothing. I mean, what kind of identity did that person have at 13, 14, 15, 16 years old? And yet, that whole identity was shattered because this story is about Oprah, right? Oprah went through all of that. And imagine, this isn't the now. This is the 80s and the 90s. Black female, single black female, and wow, right? So, Christine Ricci, you fit in that same category, right? Is that you had a certain identity about you, be a nurse, right? And you knew that you wanted to help people, and you feel like you've had success by accident. But you and I both know it was no accident. It may not have been with a perfect plan, but I would love all of our hangout attendees, everybody that's hanging out, I'd love all of them to raise their hand that had a plan for exactly where they are right now. You know, it's like none of us, he who doesn't have a plan, raise your hand, right? And it's like boom, right? We have a plan, but things change and we have to adapt. That's what you've done so well, is you have adapted to the opportunities that have come into your business. So 27 years old, you're getting in the business and you're developing this. Tell us about your timeline, because you see, you're a success right now. And the thing about it is people tend to see you when you become a success and they go, oh, well, they're a success. Of course they did these things, right? What they didn't see is all the hard work and the mistakes and the failures and everything else that you accomplished throughout the years. So what were your steps in the business? What were there some 2 or 3 moments that took you from you going from wondering if you were ever going to make it in this business to knowing that, you know what, I'm going to be a success?
Well, there were probably about 3 to 4 pivotal moments that that have hit me in my life that's made them game changers. So I would say 2 years into the business, and mind you, I started in 97 and my daughter was born in 98. So I had a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old and a newborn.
Wow.
So I was expecting with her, and I worked the whole time with her. So I started in the industry just doing rentals. I never sold or listed a home. So I started with doing rentals, and then I had one cold call. It was about 2 years into the business, and that was a pivotal moment. That call opened the door to the international relocation.
Oh, looks like she for
call.
So and, international relocation.
Yeah.
And so you got connected with somebody that does international relocation.
Yes.
Right? So we're going to talk more about that. Tell me the number 2 pivotal moment.
Number 2 pivotal moment was deciding to go into sales. That was 2003. I took a class called Top Gun. And it was about sort of like a Bold and Keller Williams. It changes your mindset about listing properties. So I decided to take that class, and it was a game changer in opening the door to selling real estate and not just being a rental agent. So 2003, that changed my world, and that's when my real estate business really exploded to the next level.
Awesome. And then what was the third that you really feel like was an inflection point?
Switching to Keller Williams, 2006, 3 years later, making a career move to a company that looked at my real estate business as a career, and allowed me to become the entrepreneur I am today, because I did not know I was one. At that time, I thought I was just working for the main company. And I never really treated my business like I do today, to take it to new levels and also to look at it as leaving a legacy for my children, as I do today.
I love it.
That's a really big one for me.
Yeah.
And the 4th one, which was pivotal again, was 2010, when I had to dismantle my entire real estate team in order to survive the real estate market shift. And today, I am rebuilding that team stronger than ever, so then it never comes down again.
Nice. Nice. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the international relocation, because what happened here is this is your 50x, right? One of your 50x relationships was developed in that, and so let's go ahead and dive into that a little bit. We'll dive into it maybe more later on how you're building more 50x relationships, but tell us about the international relocation and what happened there.
So I got that call. It was somebody that needed assistance for a French family moving up to our area. I grew up in the area that they were seeking a home, so I had extensive knowledge. And at that time, this company was seeking to open up the door to Westchester County, which is a county 30 minutes north of Manhattan. That is really like the next best affluent area to live in outside of Manhattan. So the showings went very well. The tour was very detailed, and she saw this moment of seeing that opportunity jump at both of us. She then went back to the president of the company. It's actually a concierge service that is a third party to the relocation companies. And she came back to me and said, I spoke to the president of the company, and they really would like to engage you as their main agent of choice in this area to see how many more companies we can get to open the door to our concierge service. So from there, I worked with her for about a year, and I was successful in helping her place maybe about like 7 families that year. And then she was let go of the company. So for a good year, we had a great relationship, and then I got a phone call from the president of the company because the door was already open, and they knew that they didn't have direct contact with me, she did. So they invited me to a meeting in New York City and offered me an opportunity. And from that moment, that was the year 2000, we are still in business together.
Let me ask you this. So the lady who you kind of connected through the cold call, you helped her, is that correct?
Right. I helped her because she was able to then connect with the other families and expand her consultation, her consultants into the area, but then she would let go from the company.
Okay, but first of all, did you help this lady personally with her purchase or rental in the area? Okay,
no,
and
I did not help her.
Okay,
but I helped all the transferees and the clients she was already relaying that we had this amazing team built.
Okay, when she was at the oops, sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
When she was at the company, what was her role?
She was sort of like an expansion manager to open up area opportunities for this concierge company.
Okay. All right. And then she was there a year. You helped 7 families that she had referred to you.
Right.
Was there any type of a referral arrangement, or was it 100%?
The first 7 was 100% because they really didn't know, they weren't licensed to receive referral fees.
Yeah.
So they just, after I met them with the principals, we did create a win-win where I did pay them a small referral fee for the lead, but it really didn't stand anywhere near the amount of business we were doing together.
So in that first year, how did you communicate with this gal who was the expansion manager? Was it regular, or did it just seem like, wow, you've got 7 families to deal with, so you had to talk to her anyway? Or what do you think there?
We worked together hand in hand, so she would accompany all of our showings, so then she can help settle in the family. So their job is to, settle the families relocating in with their children, going to the schools, doing school appointments, Social Security, driver's license, the whole settling in concierge. And I did all the home tours and all the area tours to bring it all together. So we were in constant communication like a team.
Okay. And then after the first year, she was let go, or she was going to expand to another area. She had done her job, right?
Right. Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
and then the president, you were connected to the president. How did that go? How were you connected to the president?
So she had went directly to them from her experience and was raving about our service, the experience that her clients were having with us, and the success rate she was having. With myself, I was the team. I didn't have anyone else.
Right.
So with me personally. And from there, when she left, obviously got voted or moved on, they knew that I was involved, and they had heard my name so many times that the president of the company found my email trails and conversations and seeked me out directly, to be sure that they didn't lose what was already working at a high level for more opportunity.
They wanted some consistency, and you had already been doing a great job, so you met with the president, and then so what has that done for you over, and what year was that? Can you remember what year that was?
2000, so 15 years ago.
Okay, so it was really not for a couple of years after that you jumped into sales full time.
Correct, yep.
At this point, you were helping them find temporary housing and leasing opportunities, yes?
Yep, that's all I did.
Okay.
And never did any of that.
What made you jump into sales? Was it just that you had all these opportunities, or what?
Actually, in 2003, between 1998 really and 2003, all of my rental clients were then switching to purchasing.
Mm-hmm.
And because they were excited about the experience they had with me, and that I really paid attention to customer service, and I had built strong relationships with them, they were referring me their friends, their family members, themselves to wanting to buy, and they only wanted to work with me. So although, renting, selling is the same, but it's really not.
Mm-hmm.
Renting a property is very different than selling a property, although it's still customer service. So I decided to take the sales course so I can improve my service level and more knowledge to my clients, so I can better service them. So I took that course, which really changed my life.
Fantastic. And education's been a big part of your life. What did you do from the standpoint of customer service? What do you feel like you did that really stood out to the point where you became this de facto contact? You were literally the agent of choice for this concierge service. What did you feel like you did really well?
Well, I think with the amount of rentals that I was doing on a weekly basis, my listening skills really went through the roof. Because these clients were coming in for a very short amount of time, they needed someone to be very effective with how they spent their time. So I really honed in on areas and their needs assessment really, really at a high level, and I had to do it quickly, because they would come in for weekends from overseas, and I would have to find them a home. So my level of the knowledge that I had to gain, I would go into these areas and learn about the schools, about the recreation, about everything I could, so I could bring back that education, or educating the client at a higher level more quicker, because they didn't have time. So
that's huge.
Yeah,
that's huge. I have to tell you, this is such a big aha first of all, it's like, what did you do to deliver great customer service? And you said exactly what the answer is, which is listening. And what's so amazing is everybody that's watching this and is probably listening to the recording is, what's funny is they probably tuned out as soon as they heard the word listening. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, listening, good. Yeah, I do that. Oh, wait a second. There's a squirrel over here, right? And it's like they have no idea what it really means to listen. And you hit it on the head. There's listen. And by the way, did you know that listen and silent have the exact same letters in them?
Wow.
Isn't that interesting? So listen, and then you became an expert, not an expert in real estate or an expert. You became an expert in their needs.
Right.
You became an expert for what their problem was. You became an expert who could solve their problem one at a time. Would that be accurate?
That's correct, yeah.
That is such a critical success trait that we have to highlight. It is listen and become an expert in their needs to help them solve the need very quickly. And that is the true essence of phenomenal customer service. I can't emphasize it enough, is, and especially in this current economy, the economy of the past was a little bit like find me, sell me, which meant, hunt me down, call me, cold call me, door knock me, chase me, and find me, right? Just find me through advertising or whatever you're going to do. Find me and then sell me. And it's like, hey, sell me, right? It's okay. Close me. Work all the objections and overcome my objections and close me. And that era worked, right? During a time. But it doesn't work anymore because the consumer has changed. It's no longer find me, sell me, and always be closing. Today, it is hear me, help me. And what the consumer wants, what we want as consumers is hear me, listen to my needs, and then help me. Help me go to the next level. And the helping me may not be you, but it might be someone you know. Please just help me go to the next level. Help me solve my problems. And it's no longer about A, B, C, always be closing. It's A, B, C, always be contributing. And you were implementing the Generosity Generation before it was even called the you were developing this as that type of consumer was increasing. And that, I mean, you're ahead of the game. You were ahead of the game, like you always are, it seems like. But it is. It's hear me, help me, and it's listen, become an expert, not in anything. Don't brag about your number one or being become an expert in their needs, in what they exactly want and their problem, and then help them solve it, and you will develop raving fans. Yes? I mean, is that kind of encapsulate what you've done?
That's exactly what I did. And I honestly, like you said, I didn't even know I was doing it. It was that anytime I couldn't service someone, I knew I had a sick gut. It's like, oh my God, I need to help them. And I always came from a place of helping. It's just who I am. But it just became so much greater, especially with the clientele that didn't know anything about the area. So I really was the only person that they knew, and that they had a trust to move their entire family across the world. So it was really important to me to be sure that I was, again, I learned something new even today. On our service, I remember the first client I serviced, they were from Spain. I remember the house I rented them, and I'm still friends with the landlord. And I don't know where they went, but I look back and I'm like, wow, I'm doing it at such a higher level today. I wish I could actually call them and apologize for not knowing today.
You don't need to apologize. They think you did a phenomenal job then, and they'd be even more impressed now. Christine, Ricci, how do we've got just a couple minutes before we go into kind of the break, how do people get a hold of you? Like, how do they refer you in White Plains and the Westchester area?
Well, I have a team of agents and staff members, but you can reach me. Obviously, I have my cell phone number, which I give out, which is, I don't know if you want me to tell the number too, or, that's. So we're based out of White Plains, New York. I have a team. Deborah Frascone is my lead executive assistant of my team. You can reach her at manager@thericchiteam.com. She's always looking through emails and responding quickly to our leads. Myself personally, you can reach me at Christine@thericchiteam.com, and also my cell phone where you can text me, which is probably the best way to connect quicker with me, more efficiently. That's 914-403-0179. So
That's
those
awesome.
are the main numbers then.
And Ricci is spelled R-I-C-C-I. We are talking to Ricci Rich. Christine Ricci, single mom millionaire. And I'll tell you, I can't wait to dive a little bit more into the 50X principle like this gal and this president have been with the concierge service. And Scott, any questions out there for Christine as we dive into this next segment?
No questions yet. Just a reminder to everybody that's watching, we do have the Q&A app available. Go ahead and submit your questions there for Christine or for Michael, and we will get those answered in the next half of the session.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. And yeah, good. That just means I can ask more questions, right? So the first question I have as we enter this second segment here, Christine, is what do you think about my hair? What do you think about my hair?
I think you look fabulous, Michael.
Wow, we will not edit that out, just so you know. And in fact, we've got 30 minutes here. If you'd like to go on about my hair, how fabulous I look, I'm open to taking notes on that. In all seriousness,
I will submit
yeah.
right now.
Do what?
I said I'll submit my questions right now about the hair products and how you go about doing that.
I love it. I love it. So for those of you that are just joining us, I have to tell you, I'm so excited and so honored that we have Christine Ricci out of White Plains, New York here with us today, single mom millionaire, on pace for $1 million in GCI, yes? Yes,
we are.
We're close, right?
Yeah.
I know we were almost there last year, and you know, I've been Christine has coached with me for 2.5 years. Is it two? Is it 3?
It feels like 3, but it's going to be 2 November.
Okay. So a couple of years here, and have enjoyed every moment of it. I enjoy our calls, and she's a rock star, very high on gratitude and appreciation, and has just honestly broken self-limiting beliefs of, you know what, hey, here's the deal, is I'm a female, I can't be at the highest in this business. Boom, she's a rock star entrepreneur and a female. And not only that, but single mom with 16-year-old, 21-year-old, and 23-year-old?
22, 20, yeah.
Yeah, 20 and 22. So 16, 20, and 22. Are you kidding me? She just went through 3 teenage experiences with 3 kids, and she's going to bust $1 million this year. Where do you go from there, right? You just need to like knock your microphone down and walk off the stage. I mean, that's enough said, but we're going to say more. So, all right, I want to talk about business. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so you had this 50x relationship with a gal who started. She gave you 7 to 9 referrals the first year, and then she introduced you to the president of the same firm, and now you've got 3 or 4 of these relocation directors that you're really building great relationships with, and you've become the one for their real estate referrals. First of all, what are you doing? What are you doing from the aspect of keeping that relationship, of keeping those or that relationship going? How do we keep that 50x relationship in flow instead of losing some of that momentum?
Key thing is customer service. You know, I mean, again, doesn't change. It's the experience. So I've been able to nurture and keep that relationship through the last 15 years because of the proven results. You know, I mean, what I say I do, I do. I perform at a high level. My service is always over and beyond. Because I work so well with the consultants, they also refer me personal friends as well outside of the business. Because I make their life easier and we got each other's back.
Yeah.
So that's really the key right there is if you make them shine, they will make you money. And as long as you do your job at a high level and are willing to jump in the trenches, this is where most people fail. They're not willing to do that 1% more. And I'll do 10% more, although sometimes I don't get paid for it, but they remember that. And I've gotten accounts from major corporations over not getting paid on 1 deal. Although it was painful, and yes, it didn't feed my family, but I came from a different place. I just came from, you know what, I'm not going to not service the client. We're already in relationships. So I'm going to follow through on my job, which is what I've been hired for. And although your company may be short-sighted on the worth that I am to them, but one day you'll know where that comes from.
That's right.
And it always rose to the top. So again, it doesn't feel good at the moment, but I'm always a big picture thinker, and I'm like, okay, the next one will come and they'll remember me, and then from there they're going to see the value that I bring to them for them to warrant the fees that I'm asking and so on. So it comes down, again, I hate to keep saying it, but it's the customer service.
Yeah.
It's what it
Yeah.
is.
And your customer service philosophy is the ABC, right? Always be contributing.
Always.
You're not just doing what you're asked to do. You're contributing more to their lives than just a real estate service. You're doing the 1 to 10% more, and quite honestly, in today's world, 1 to 10% more is the 100% more, right? It's the difference between not saving a referral source and saving the referral source and having a referral source that's thrilled to refer you because they know you're going to go above and beyond. They know you're going to deliver. And what's funny is how you put it. You said the 1 to 10%, and that always be contributing is not a 180-degree turn mentally. It's just a 1% tweak, isn't it? It's just a 1% tweak that is just like, you know what? I'm just going to get it done no matter what. And I know it's going to pay off, especially through the referral source, and it's going to pay off through referrals, right?
Yes, yeah, definitely. And I had read this book. It was called, I believe it was 212 Degrees, 212,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think.
Yeah.
And it's that 1 degree that takes it from boiling to steaming, right? So when I read that, it's a quick read. It just, again, goes back to, if you're always just doing what you love, and I love what I do, so that really is helpful, and it comes very natural to me. So going over that does not feel like I'm overextending. It just is natural because you're just coming from a place of wanting to follow through and seeing that reward, which is really is them happy. I mean, the emails I get from people that leave this country, I mean, thank you for giving me the American dream. Like, when you get that, like, you're like, wow. Like, you really do, put a mark on their life. And it's forever. Like, just that 2-3 year experience that they're here, I mean, it changes their world. And it just, for me, that's what makes me do what I do every day.
I love it. So how have you changed in the last couple of years? You've gone from like 300,000 in GCI to 500, and you're steadily moving up the ladder, and you're going to break 1 million this year or next. Period. It's going to happen. Your opportunities are coming to you. So what has changed in the last couple of years that you feel like others could emulate?
So what really has changed for me is the people that I surround myself by. So I made a very clear decision that although I may not have it in my immediate, reach, that I was going to be a part of something bigger than just, mediocre was not an option for me. So 2010, when I had to dismantle the team that I had built in an upmarket, it was really a huge failure for me. I felt it was. And then I had a colleague of mine. We were all on the Agent Leadership Council together. We were at our retreat, and I felt so low. It was like one of the lowest points of my career of just, let's put it that way. He looked at it. We were together in the dressing room, and I said, having to let go of my team was the hardest thing I ever had to do. And I said, I feel like such a failure. And she goes, really? She goes, wow. She goes, I'm so surprised you look at yourself that way. I said, well, why is that? And she said, well, I saw what you were doing, and my perspective was that, wow, she's going to rock, and she's going to come back stronger. And I never looked at it that way. I just looked at the low moment of having to let people go and disrupt their life. And I never looked at mine as, wow, that was my stepping stone to really taking my career and my team and being able to help grow people to another level, which I am doing now.
Wow. So you've actually stopped settling for mediocre, not just in yourself, but in those that you surround yourself with, and not only that, but even in the referral sources.
Absolutely.
Your community is no longer, and when I say community, I mean it's your friends and your friends of friends. That's basically your community. Your community, you now have a higher standard for who gets into your community. Yes? Yeah.
Yes.
And I have to I'm not to put words in your mouth, but I have to tell you that one of the things that I've seen in the last 2 years that from a coaching standpoint I've seen you change is your gratefulness and your attitude of appreciation. And it's not, you've always been appreciative, but now you're so much better at expressing appreciation,
Yes.
right? So verbalize on that a little bit. How, I mean, what does that mean to you?
Well, it's very funny because I saw you on stage. And if you remember, that was about 4 or 5 years ago when I
Yeah.
was in a really bad place in my life,
Mm.
on a personal, not so much professional, but personal. And it does work hand in hand. So, don't be fooled that one doesn't affect the other, because it
Mm.
does. And I remember hearing your story. And then I met you that evening at that mega agent get together, and I followed you. And I wasn't stalking you, but from maybe a distance I was.
Mm.
When I heard your story, I'm like, that's
Can
me.
we repeat that? This beautiful woman is about to say something that everybody here needs to. No, I'm just kidding. So you were stalking me. I mean, let's
I,
just
I
let's just use
yeah,
that word because
Put it
I
out
happen to
there.
like it. I mean, but no, in all sense, you heard my story, you could relate to it,
right.
and so it's like, okay, I need to hear about what this guy's done to be maybe a little bit ahead of me in breaking through some of these limiting beliefs, right?
So
So, yeah.
that was really big for me because although I came from always giving, I had a really hard time receiving. I
Mm.
wouldn't let people, like, if they compliment me, I'm like, oh, thanks. And I really didn't know how to embrace it. And when I continue to follow you, and then of course Facebook kind of exploded, and then you can meet people faster. 2 years ago at Mega Camp, I made it a point, and I did stalk you there, and I'm very happy I did. And I made it a point that I had to meet you. I wanted you to embrace me, and help me. I feel like you were the only person in the business world that understood how much I love helping people.
Mm.
Because most of my past coaches, although they were instrumental in helping me grow, they were shoving other things down my throat that were not natural to me. And you knew how to open up my natural style, which is coming from contribution.
Yeah.
And although, a lot of coaches come from that place, but not at the level that you understand me.
Yeah.
So that connection was really important for me to make, and I did make it, and it was at that time that I needed you most in my life, which is when I was just launching my rebuild of my team. And you probably didn't even know that, but I was very excited when you gave me the opportunity to interview me for a spot in your coaching program, your 7L book, and it has changed. So you're a really instrumental part of my life, coming from so many different areas, not just my business, but my personal life too, that you really have helped me grow in a lot of areas.
Mm. Well, thank you. And you hit on some points there. Is one is you are a master at generosity. When I met you, you were a phenomenal giver, and you've even become better. You're a master at generosity. Where we've had the biggest inroads, in my opinion, in the 2 years, is you become a far better receiver,
Sure.
right? And this whole understanding that giving and receiving are two sides of the same coin. They're just two sides. You have to have giving and you have to have receiving. And it's like inhaling and exhaling, right? It's like your muscles contracting. What's interesting is when I make a bicep, because I've always wanted to do this on screen. Notice, look, my shirt's about to rip. Did you see that? Did you guys hear that stretch from my shirt? That's a T-shirt about to rip. Okay, but when you're doing that, you're flexing this, you're contracting. Do you know what has to happen to your tricep when you do that? It has to relax. So contracting and relaxing are two opposite and equal activities that have to happen at the same time. And the other thing too is inhaling and exhaling, right? You can't just inhale and not exhale. To breathe, to truly breathe in your life, you have to inhale and exhale at equal amounts. And so what happens when a giver gives and gives and gives and never receives is they die a little bit. They quit giving. A little piece of them dies. And early I talked about the consistency we see or have to go from identity to behavior. Well, what happens when a giver, somebody that says, I'm a giver, and truly believes in their heart of heart, they're a giver. What happens when this giver gives and gives and gives but never, ever receives? Is they get exhausted and they quit giving. Think about that. Their identity is I'm a giver, and now they quit giving. All of a sudden, they have lost their integrity, self-integrity, and self-dignity, and that's just plain sad. That's horrible. But guess what happens? What happens when a giver gives and gives and then receives? Gives and gives and then receives. What happens when a giver receives a referral? What happens? I mean, Christine Ricci, what happens when you get a referral, right? How do you feel?
Oh, like I'm a part of something larger than life.
Wow, it's energizing. It's this whole transition, this transformation from sacrificial lamb to roaring lion. And that's Christine Ricci. Christine Ricci's a roaring lion. Watch out. Any guy that hooks up with Christine Ricci had better freaking be the man. I mean, it's going to take a man, a lion, to break through the filter and be an equal partner in life to Christine Ricci. So all you guys who wrote down that cell phone with hopes, I want you to know that you better look in the mirror before you look in the phone. Because, take a selfie before you flip it around and dial, because she's the real deal, and you may not be man enough for her yet. So bottom line is she is a roaring lion. And because she learned how to receive. You have learned how to receive, and you love it, and you understand that it energizes you because you are giving at a very high level. You're giving today at a very high level.
Yeah, it was a total game changer for me, and now, because of that, I've also, been able to listen to my new team members. When we're building something, I no longer want to build alone. So that's about the surrounding yourself by people. And right now, I have one of the strongest teams I've ever had because, one, they see my culture, they see my integrity and where I come from. I come from wanting to build them and have them grow, which is, again, giving, but then I get to receive how they see things differently, better than me, and it's so rewarding. And I'm a better mom as well.
Wow. And it's really based on this filter and this act of appreciation. You appreciate them, but what's interesting about that is because you feel so much stronger yourself, because you have more value, right? Actually, you don't have more. You've actually gone from potential value to kinetic value. Now you know your value. So what happens is you no longer look at building a team as if it's, oh my God, you want to be on my team? Oh my God, that's incredible. Come, please work on my team. And you've gone from that, right, to, listen, you better be a stud to work on. It's a privilege to work on the Ricci team. Now, you would never verbalize it that way. That's why I'm in your life, so I can verbalize it that way. Is that, I mean, that's what, it's a privilege. You need to earn your right to be on this team. And then once they've earned that right, they're really good people, and you appreciate them. So guess what you do? You build on that. You build them through your one-on-ones. You're doing one-on-ones for the first time in your team building, and you've seen them grow as people within your team building, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I made a commitment 3 years ago after my divorce or separation that I was going to treat myself better, body better. And I recognized that after a year of personal training and being so focused on that the one thing I wasn't doing is I wasn't doing it for my team.
Mm.
So if I knew that I showed up every day, 6 days a week to meet my trainer for myself, I knew I could make the same commitment for my team. And I did that. October 1st, 2013, I woke up and I said, okay, I'm going to show up every day. Whether they show up or not, I'm here.
Mm.
And, you know, from that day forward, unless I'm out of town or at a conference or I'm very rarely sick, so very rarely do I have sick days, I'm always there. Mondays and Tuesdays is our team meeting, and we don't deviate from that.
Yeah.
And it's been life-changing for me and for them, because if they're committing to give it their all, they need to see the same commitment from their leader. And
Oh.
that has been really a big thing for me. And, you know, and I've lost some dear friends in my divorce timeline. You know,
Mm.
as they say, people show up. And then I've gained some really amazing friends that some of them might have just been in the moment, but
Mhm.
they have been very instrumental in helping me grow to where I am today.
I think what you maybe found is you found those who were true friends, and
Right.
then you filtered out the ones
Yeah.
who aren't necessarily the true friends. I mean, honestly, what a divorce can do for people is a lot of times you find out who your real friends are, right?
Sure.
And guess what? The ones that make it through that and support you through that and are there when that's the most awkward conversation in the history of mankind, right? When they're there through the most awkward conversation, guess what? They're also going to be there through all the best conversations and every other conversation. So I love that. And so Scott, how about questions from? I don't want to. I feel like I'm dominating this from a question standpoint, just because I am so interested in Christine and I am invested in her success and what she's doing next. And honestly, I'm genuinely curious about her. So any questions that we can take from the audience that?
We don't have any questions from the audience. I do have a question, though, and we may have already covered it a little bit with learning how to receive generosity, but is there anything else in the last 2 years when you've been working with Michael that you have implemented that has had a huge impact on your business?
Yes. I had never had a thank you party for any of my clients that have been there through the thick, the thin, and always thinking of me when it came to real estate. And I'm actually very good friends with most of my clients. So Michael was very instrumental in guiding me through having my first client appreciation party, which we did, and we had about 95 to 100 clients there in November, and they were so grateful for having the time to meet one another, because there were people there from all over the world and local too. And from that party, they have made friends with one another. And I just found out about this. They're going out to dinner. Their children are the same ages, but we're in different school districts. And I've created new relationships for them, which to me, again, is just another reward of seeing, just helping people. And I think too, Michael has been very helpful for me to look at who the referral sources and thanking them at another level, which we forget about them. You know, we forget about, oh, Mary gave me Peter, and then Peter gave me Paul, and I think we have to go back to Mary and thank her for the 4-level deep referral. So he's made me very aware of that, and that has really changed my team, how they think, and what I bring to the table as a leader. So it does go deep. I mean, it goes deeper than just the surface referral. It goes deep down to where did it come from? And that's the retrace, that he taught me and teaches everybody that he's in contact with. But I think that's really great that they get that call, because they could be having a bad day and you make that call to them and it just changes their whole day.
It totally does. Scott, what a great question, and thank you. And yeah, if there's two concepts and strategies or tactics specifically, the client appreciation event is such a valuable tool. I teach a concept called the power of one, and one is an acronym for orchestrated networking events. In Christine's case, this was the perfect scenario because she not only had a lot of clients that appreciated her and she appreciated them. Once again, this is a way to communicate and express appreciation, right? So that's number one. The other thing is that these were international clients. So a lot of them come here, they don't have a big friend base. Some of them don't have a friend base at all. All they have is their work base of people that, and some of them are, it's just a different relationship between having friends and working with someone. So she got them together, and this party acted as much a service as it did a client appreciation for Christine. And Christine, what was your biggest obstacle to holding your client appreciation event?
It was actually.
Yeah, I want everybody to note that that is what people think initially about having a client appreciation event. So you overcame that, right? So what is your, yeah?
Like, you start. So you just basically just start where the heart is. So I started with, I just put a list together of everybody that I would want to have at that party, and that came very natural. And from there, I got my team involved. Everybody was delegated a certain piece of it, so it was a team effort, which made it fun. And everybody showed up, and that's when I knew we had a real team spirit. So I mean, my assistants were amazing at putting things together. It was a big group effort. Our vendors were really supportive of of bringing gifts and and having them show up, and also building new relationships with one another they'd never met. So it just came from all areas. It wasn't just one single person. It was everyone contributing.
So if you were to give 2 or 3 suggestions to somebody who's considering doing a client appreciation event, what are the 2 or 3 things that you would suggest that they do?
One, it gives you a chance to go through your database. So go through your database, and if you don't, if you don't want to go back 3 years because you think the clients won't remember you, just go back to where they do remember you and start there. Having 10 or 20 is better than not doing it at all. So start something small if you don't want to make it big. I was afraid people wouldn't show up, like, oh, they're too busy in their life. But try, the second thing is I would select a day during the week that you feel is not so crazy. Mm-hmm. So I did it on a Thursday, which happened to be before the weekend and after the beginning of the crazy work week. Mm-hmm. And then get your vendors involved and get them excited. And those were the 3 top things I did. First went through my database and selected my top number of people. Secondly, get the team involved. If you don't have one, then get your vendors involved. They are your extension team. And then third, just put it on the calendar. Just put a date. Even if no one shows up, put a date. Because if you don't put a date, like Gary Keller says, though, if it's on your calendar, it doesn't exist. That was our hardest thing, is everybody was busy all the time, so we never had a date. Just pick a date, and we did. And that's what made it happen, honestly.
Yeah, you know what? I remember the first call we talked about it, and the buy-when is you said whatever it was, and it's like, but you didn't put the date on your calendar. You just set, and then the next one it was like, no, here's the deal. What's the date? We put it on your calendar. We emailed the entire team and said that's the date. And all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, we have a date, and I just sent it to the team. And guess what? I didn't even have to hold you accountable. I don't know if you remember that, but your 2 assistants were holding you basically accountable to getting it. And that is, I mean, that's the power here. Is one, she hit it on the head so big time, is that it gives you an opportunity to go through your database. And that's a great way to figure out your 150. We call it the Boost 150. Is who are the 150 that you would invite to a client appreciation event, and just focus the rest of this year on just those 150. The other thing is inviting your vendors to get involved with you, is that you're going to find out which vendors are really on board with you and who aren't, right? And the third one is the greatest advice in the history of the world for getting anything done, which is get a date, set a date, and then share it with somebody who's probably going to hold you accountable to that date. Wow. Christine Ricci, how do people get a hold of you to refer the heck out of you in Westchester County and White Plains, New York, and and gets in touch with you, and they can send you emails and thank you for how awesome you are on today's Hangout?
They can reach me on my email, which is Christine@thericci.com. So it's THERICCI team.com. Also manager at the Ricci team, my assistant Deborah. And my cell phone text is great, 914-403-0179. We service all of Westchester County and Connecticut. We are licensed in that state as well. A lot of our transferees go to that state too, very close to Manhattan, 45 minutes. We are local experts in not only knowing the areas, but we won't waste your client's time. We know how to have a real consultation, listen to them, and really hone in on their needs quick. Nobody has time today. That's the biggest thing. They don't want their time wasted with being chauffeured around. They want experts to tour them and get down to the details. So that's
Beautiful.
what we do.
Beautiful. And we're talking to Christine Ricci. This is Michael J. Mayer of the Generosity Generation. And here's what I encourage you to do is forward the living heck out of this recording today. Is get it out to anybody you know, spread the word, because this isn't just valuable information for realtors. This is valuable, not just valuable information for females, not just valuable information for single moms who want to make it big in this business. This is for anyone who wants to make it big in real estate or any business. Who's the first person you think of when you've listened to this interview with Christine Ricci that needs to hear this blessing, right? Needs to hear this message. And I encourage you to forward that to this person before you're even thinking about doing one other thing. Christine Ricci, I just have to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Fist bump Friday, baby. Fist bump Friday. And Scott, I just have to say to you, thank you so much for Viral Marketing and yourself for what you guys do in hosting this and making this happen. And just know you are very much appreciated as well, brother.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that, Michael. Christine, thank you so much for joining us today. Michael, as always, thank you for joining us. It was a great episode. We got a lot of amazing information out there. And I would just like to invite everybody to join us on the next episode of the Generosity Generation Hangout. We'll send out more information about that soon.
And I want to thank you both for hosting me on this. And also, again, if anybody has questions, team building, how to build strong relationships, I mean, it has nothing to do with real estate. It's just about being you. You can call me anytime.
Great.
Love it. See, everybody, go out there, be love, do generosity, have prosperity. Single mom millionaire, Christine Ricci.
Woo!